Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And we've got a really cool show today. We're going to talk to the angel whisperer. You know, Michael Terzi is here today, and we are going to talk about angels. And I'm so excited that he's here. He's joining us from California. But before we bring him on, I want to talk about the state of humanity, which is something I do every week. And, you know, there's a couple different things that are going on. One thing that really shocked me this morning when I was looking on the internet at the news was that the Dow surges past 30,000 for the first time. It's a historic milestone. Now, this is really kind of crazy. It says the charging bull, and there's a picture of the bull. Look at that. The charging bull statue is shown in New York's financial district on September 8, 2020. The Dow surpasses 30,000 points for the first time after President Trump allowing the transition process to begin. Okay, not even the pandemic could keep the Dow from breaking a major milestone, the 30,000 point barrier. The Dow Jones Industrial Average powered past 30,000 for the first time ever Tuesday after President Trump allowed the transition process to begin, even as he has yet to concede. Now, investors have been growing worried that Trump's refusal to allow proceedings to begin would hamper President-elect Joe Biden as he prepared to take office. This is just amazing stuff. You know, it's just a crazy time that we're in right now, but I thought I'd bring it up because you don't see that very often. The other thing I want to talk about, I always talk about some good news today. We do have Thanksgiving this week. This is Thanksgiving week. And it says millions of Americans are planning on holiday travel, even though that there is the COVID going on. And, you know, I just want to really quick talk about Thanksgiving. You know, we have Thanksgiving because we give thanks. And maybe this is a good time, whether you can be with your family or not, to just realize what you're grateful for. You know, we all have stuff that goes on in our lives. We all have things that we are grateful for. And I think this is a really good time where we can just say, hey, you know, this is what I'm grateful for, whether it's for your health, your family, whether you're with them or not. I mean, whether you have a nice home to live in, you know, electricity. Come on, let's get back to basics here. What's really important for Thanksgiving? And that's something we really need to address and really need to think about this week. It's not always about, you know, the food and the stuff. I know it's great, but maybe we need to kind of step back a bit and look at what we're thankful for. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up, why we're talking about Thanksgiving today. Hey, listen, let me give you a little information about our guest today. You know, the angel whisperer, Michael. I'm so excited he's here. I heard him on a couple shows and I wanted to have him on my show. So I'm just so excited that he decided to join us today. Dr. Michael Terzi, he's an angel medium. He's a Reiki master. He's a spiritual teacher and he's an optometrist. What started as a visitation from spirit as a child developed into prophetic abilities as a teenager. And we'll ask him to tell us his story. And he quickly learned that we are not alone in the universe. And instead, we are surrounded by a host of angelic beings as he awakened to this awareness during medical school. You know, it is a big awakening to realize that we're not alone. So Dr. Michael has always maintained his passion for combining science and spirituality. I really like that. And he has an amazing ability to deliver the angels' messages with empathy and compassion while bringing inside clarity and comfort to his clients. So I'm sure he'll give you his information if you guys want a reading. He's also had an affinity and natural ability to transmute negative energy to positive energy, which I want to talk about, and which he utilizes within his angel Reiki healings and home clearing blessings during investigations. He does with a group. Now he has a group, it's called Rise Paranormal, and he works with his wife on this, and he teaches that the angels are able to provide guidance and a sense of empowerment and healing to everyone who asks. Hey, Michael, welcome to High Road to Humanity.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. You know, I'm really honored to be able to be on the show.
Thanks. Tell us your story. I want to know, when did you first start seeing angels? Talk to me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So the story is kind of crazy. Like I said, and like you read a little bit in the bio, I had a few experiences when I was younger,
Right.
but, growing up, there aren't a lot of people you can really talk to about it. I am writing about it in the book that I'm currently trying to write. I've been trying for months now to get it done, but with all the craziness going on right now, it's just been tough for me to sit down and write. But when
Right.
I was younger, I had little things happen. There was I thought I saw my first spirit when I was very young, around 11 or so, and then I started seeing things before they started happening sometimes when as I became into a young teenager. And then
Right.
it kind of shut off for a while. We moved around a lot. There was the need to want to fit in and to be, a normal teenager.
Right.
And so whenever things would come up, I would kind of explain them away. And so then I started feeling less and less as the teenage years went through and then into young adulthood.
Right.
As I went into undergrad and then into medical school, I noticed that things started to change. Undergrad was a time when it was pretty easy for me to go through the classes. I was doing okay, got into medical school, doing okay then, but then
Hmm.
all of a sudden I started to feel more and more anxious, more depressed, I started feeling all of these emotions that I normally didn't feel before.
Right.
I was usually the type of guy that was like, I pass, I pass. If I don't, I don't. I'm just going to do my best. And I was pretty kicked back about it.
Right.
But I noticed that I wasn't acting like myself. And that went on for about a year or so, not telling my wife about it, of course, because that's just what guys do.
Yeah.
And so then finally, I broke down one day because I had been having panic attacks in my car as I was driving
Oh my
home
God,
from
Michael.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about a 2 hour commute because California's traffic is always awful. So
Right.
and as I was driving, I would be screaming, I would be crying, I'd be pounding the steering wheel. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I'm feeling things that I normally don't feel.
Right.
And finally, like I said, broke down and told my wife about it. And through her own little bit of amped up intuition, she kind of looked at me and she says, well, maybe you're an empath. And I
Hmm.
said, well, what's an empath? She said, I don't know. Let's go look it up, because she had no idea what it was either. We not spiritual at all. I've always been in science and all that stuff. And,
Yeah, I was going to ask
we
you,
watch
did
a
you go
show
to
here and there.
church when you were a kid? Like, did you grow up in the church or anything?
I did. It's an interesting dynamic. I'm actually by heritage half Catholic and half Jewish.
Okay.
And so I always joke and say I'm kind of like a cashew.
Yeah.
So
You're like a
yeah,
cashew. I
old
love it.
joke, old dad joke, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so it was an interesting concept growing up, because when I was younger, my parents said, you can choose whatever you want, whichever way you want to go.
Right. And did
And
you
when I
feel
was,
compelled to like go either way, or did you feel spiritual at all at the point?
I did, and I ended up going the route of Christianity. And
Okay.
so, in fact, I actually enrolled me and my sister in Catholic school when I went into fifth grade.
Okay.
Which was, they both agreed on that, and it was something that they felt would be good because it was a better school around them in the area that we were in. Now, we were on the East Coast at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was in school, it was always an interesting thing, because it resonated in some areas, but there was always something that I felt I was missing even when I was young.
Like you weren't getting the
And
full story.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when it came time when I was about 18, uh, something happened where I said, you know what? I don't think I want to identify myself with any specific sect of Christianity. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in a lot of the teachings. I believe in a lot of what they told me and talked about, but I'm going to be, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, non-denominational Christian.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I would go to church here and there, but it was never something that I really felt compelled to do, because I felt God is everywhere.
Right.
And if I really need to talk to him or anyone else, I can just talk to him and
Well,
ask him
go
for my forgiveness.
right. So go back to the story you were telling us. So you figured out you were
Yeah,
an empath. I'm an empath too, by the way. You probably
of
figured that
course.
out
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, well, and it's amazing when you do figure out what you are, because then you're like, oh, is that
Yeah.
how you were too? You're like, I get myself now, right?
Yeah, it was really eye-opening, and it was the beginning of everything, because
Yeah.
she said that, we looked it up, and as a doctor, or as a doctor in training, I was like, oh, I have all of these symptoms, and so I'm
Mhm.
like, I must be an empath. Obviously they're not symptoms, but it was just the way my mind was working, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. This is a strange concept for me, because I'm not really into a lot of spirituality at the time, but okay, this is a part of me. And it was tough because even knowing about it helped me to realize a little bit more about myself, but I still, it's like, it seemed like a curse at the time. I couldn't control it. And I was still feeling things. I knew where it was coming from now. I was even getting thoughts from other people sometimes.
I know, I do that too.
Yeah. You know,
So
I'm
what
going to
do you
change my answer
do?
from A to B, you know?
Yeah, so what did you do? Like, how did you start to protect yourself?
Yeah, it was difficult at first because obviously during tests, and then after I got into third and fourth year of optometry school, you start doing more clinical things, and then you have to start taking your national board exams. And I was feeling the anxiety the first couple of times I took some of the big exams. I had to go to the bathroom like 6 times
Oh my
because there was 150
gosh.
people in the same room with all
Oh
their
my
anxiety.
God.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I need a break. Like they thought I had a bladder infection or something, probably, I'm sure.
Oh my God,
Because, you
Michael.
know, you have to raise your hand and then someone walks you to the bathroom every time, you know, and make sure you don't cheat. So it was
Oh
one of
my
those things that
gosh.
it was hard. And my wife actually helped me out a great deal because I was
Right.
very new to all of this. She started doing research. And so she found actually, like you were mentioning, protection.
Yeah.
She found a few stones. And I was like,
Yeah.
stones, crystals, really? Like, you
I
know, this
know.
is
You're
like,
like, it's kind of
yeah,
weird, but
yeah.
yeah.
But she found a necklace on Etsy that had 3 different kinds of protection stones.
Right.
You know, I put my intention into it for protection and help and everything, and that it actually helped to muffle it about 60% or so. So I
Right.
was able to pass the exams I needed to pass.
Right.
So after that, I couldn't deny that this is real. This is happening to me. But I think I can control it somehow. So I tried to look around for help and guidance with it, taking some local classes here and there, but nothing was really helping much. And so
Right.
one day I kind of um, started talking to other people, and I saw my first human spirit. And that
Okay.
was really strange because I was just in my room after talking to somebody I just saw this silhouette and I couldn't hear anything. It was kind
Right.
of like the Charlie Brown teacher. It was like wah 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 wah. But I'm like, but I see the mouth moving, and I wasn't
So
scared
you
for
can
some
see
reason.
the outline and you weren't
Yeah,
afraid, right?
I wasn't afraid. It was I thought I would be,
Right.
but it seemed like they were just trying to talk. They needed some sort of help, and I wasn't sure what it was because I couldn't hear them. But I started getting little images and things, and so I tried to go off of that and try to talk to them, and
Right.
eventually that spirit went away. Unfortunately, I guess the word gets out, and I started
I
seeing a lot more
know.
spirits
I
around.
know. We're going to talk
Yeah,
about that when we come back from commercial break. This is
yeah,
so awesome. I just love having this conversation with you because there's a little camaraderie here. So,
yeah.
hey, you guys, I'm here today with the Angel Whisperer. I'm here today with Michael Terzi. And Michael, give us your website if people want to get in touch with you.
Oh, sure, of course. Yes. It's angelwhisperermichael.com. If you want to schedule any kind of readings or Reikis, there's a contact form on the site. And then also riseparanormal.com for anybody that needs any help if there's any kind of clearing that needs to be done, or you just need to be
Right.
able to talk about any kind of energy issues you might be having.
Right. Cool. Hey, this is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearelt. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Michael Terzi, the Angel Whisperer. We're talking about angels and we're talking about empaths. And you guys don't forget to check out my website, nancyyearelt.com. You can sign up there to book a reading with me if you'd like. And also, if you're listening to me on the podcast, you can get me on iTunes. You can get me on Spotify. We're on iHeart and we're on TogiNet Radio. And you can find me, if you're listening to me, you can find me on Nancy Yearelt's High Road to Humanity on YouTube. Hey, we are back here with Michael. And Michael, I got to say something to you because this is like from one person to another. When this started to happen to me, I started to get people who would pass, but I didn't see them. I just knew they were there. And I was always in the shower. And I send them to the light. That's what I do.
Mm.
But I don't see them or hear them like you do. So did that happen to you too?
Yeah, one of the things that happened, as we were saying before the break, was that I saw for some
Right.
reason before. I felt, of course, because I always joke that empathy is kind of like the gateway gift. People start off as empaths sometimes,
Yeah.
and then things start to develop. And for
Right.
some reason, I developed clairvoyance first. I was able to kind of see a little bit. Some people I teach develop clairaudience first.
Right.
Some people will feel, like you were saying, more than what they see or hear.
Right.
Eventually, as we develop those particular gifts that we start off with, others might start to sprout up. And that was one of the things that I got, was I was seeing so much. And then, not to get too much off topic, but to finish up the last one, was then I was upset one day. I was angry. I was like, I just want to be a doctor. I don't want this. I'm an empath now. Now I'm seeing spirits everywhere. This is ridiculous. Like, this is not.
I know, and you
This is not
can't
what I
tell
saw
anybody
myself.
because people look at
Yeah.
you like you're nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're not, and you know what you're doing. And I've had to ask a few other practitioners to confirm for me. Did you do that too?
Yeah, there were some things that I did. There was a couple of people around the area that I felt I could talk to a little bit.
Right.
But the hard part about it was that I was seeing them, I won't say more, but differently than some of them might have been seeing them. A lot was confirmed because I would get a name or I would get a background of the person, and
Right.
they'd be like, oh yeah, I got that exact same thing. And I started
Okay.
describing what they looked like, and they would be able to confirm a little bit, but it was a little different than what I was getting. So I
Okay.
was talking to my wife about it because she's always been a huge support of
That's
everything ever
wonderful.
since it started.
Yeah.
And because I was getting so angry, all of a sudden I saw this huge white light right outside of my second story window. And as that bright light started coming into the room, I had to move my eyes away, not even just my third eye, but I had to literally close my physical eyes because it was so bright.
Okay.
And I heard in my head, and I get chills every time I talk about it because this was my first time seeing my guardian. He says, Michael, I am your guardian angel.
Right.
And I was overcome, and I could hear his voice, and I could feel the love, the unconditional love and compassion that he had for me. And I started, like, just tears streaming down my face. I wasn't even ugly face crying. I didn't even know I was crying.
Right.
My wife said, what's wrong? What's going on? Because she couldn't see it or feel it.
Right.
And I was like, and I'm like, oh, I'm crying. And it was just this moving experience. And, for lack of a better term, my angel then kind of said, okay, now cut it out. And I was like, what? My angel's yelling at me. Is he mad at me? And he's like, this is who you are, man. This is you. These gifts are a part of you. They've always been there. You've just shut it away for so long, but now it's time. And so ever since I started being able to hear him, I saw my other angels on my team. I saw my wife's. I came out of the spiritual closet to my parents. I did readings for my sister. Then I started doing strangers. And
Right.
it was one of those things that it filled a void inside of me. It was something that I didn't realize I was missing because I always wanted to help. I was an EMT, I was a firefighter for a little bit. I did a lot of stuff where I wanted to be of service.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I became an optometrist, I thought, okay, this is it. I'm finally going to be helping people see and all that. But even that wasn't giving me what I needed. And so when this opened up, it became a whole new world to me. And it's been a wild ride. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, when you do a reading, so are you talking directly to that person's guardian angel?
Yes. Yes.
That's what you do. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone has a team behind them, I always say. Not just one angel, but a few.
Yeah.
And then there's also a spirit guide here and there. I define it as guardian angel is an angelic being that's always been an angel. And then a spirit guide is a human soul that may have passed on to the light, usually friend, family member, people from past lives sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But during their first reading, I always get the main guardian, and that's the one that I first met. We all have a main guardian that's connected to us so deeply.
Right. And what's their job? Like, why are they here? What are they do? Are they here to protect us? Are they here to, guide us or give us little hints or what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. It's tough because they do a lot, but one of the things that I always say is that guardian angels are there to empower and guide us. They are there for protection on certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they don't protect us from everything in this life because we have our lives that we need to lead and that we have free will, but they are always there trying to guide us down the path to make the right decisions. So yeah, there's different ways they communicate. I always say universally, they try to communicate with us through intuition. They try,
Okay.
That gut feeling that we get. So they're throwing down red and green flags, but we don't always get it. And so during a reading, I connect with that angel, and the angel tells me these are my specific ways that I can communicate.
Right.
And so I try to tell them because my ultimate goal is to hopefully one day be out of a job.
And not
that
have to do, just do work
you're
with your
able,
angels. Yeah.
yeah, you're able to talk with your own. And
Right.
it's not always auditory, it's not always visual. Some of them have different ways of communicating, but if you know and you can catch those little hints and those little tips and those little pieces of info they send us, then you don't need an angel medium all the time. You have someone, you're able to do it yourself. And
Right.
that's
And
what I really like to do.
and I always tell people that, and I always say ask, because for some reason, we don't ask. And
Mhm.
if we don't ask, we don't get, because they are not allowed to help us unless we ask for help. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. They try
Okay.
to help us with some spiritual protection sometimes.
Right.
For example, if there are any negative entities around, we don't always
Right.
think to ask our angel for protection because we don't know what it is that's bothering us.
Right.
So they have their little default that they try to protect us from as much as they can. Obviously, it's part of our own energy as well. I always say that some of the people that get affected the most, unfortunately, they're the ones going through the toughest time. They're
Mm-hmm.
sad, they're depressed, they're angry, they've suffered a lot of loss. And so sometimes some negative things try to come in and take advantage of that.
Right.
But if you ask for your guardian, even during those times, they protect. And you're right. I always say, if you want, ask. If you
Ask.
want
Yeah.
protection, if you want help, and there are different ways you can ask. So,
Yeah.
but unless you do, they can't interfere with our free will. But,
Right.
they try their best to at least try to guide us, even if we don't ask.
Right.
And those are those little tips that we have.
Well, I always call in Archangel Michael, which is funny that your name is Michael. Have you ever seen Archangel Michael or Gabriel
Yeah.
or Raphael? Oh, talk to me. I want to know.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of them. It's a very different experience than talking to someone's guardian angel. There are different angels out there, obviously, and I call the three you mentioned and some other ones seraphim archangels is what they call themselves, because they're
Okay.
kind of like the generals, I guess you could say. They're the
They're in
ones
charge.
yeah, and they have other angels that are under them. Of course, they answer to the big guy, however people want to call him, God, the higher power.
Right.
And I've talked to them. They're amazing, and they're just full of knowledge. They're no one's particular guardian angel. I always say that people believe that Archangel Michael is their own personal angel. I say, well, it might be that maybe your personal guardian is connected to Michael in some way.
Right.
Because Michael sends energy to everybody. Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raziel, Ariel. Not a lot of people know about Ariel, she's
Yeah.
super awesome.
Yeah.
They all send energy to everybody who asks.
So if you ask, because I've called in Archangel Michael,
I always say your own guardian is there too, so don't neglect to talk to them.
Right. Now, I was going to ask you. So when I'm afraid, there's been times in my life where I've called in Archangel Michael. He can be at more than one place at a time. Isn't that the case? And so when you do call him in, because I can remember driving down the road one day, and this is a story I always tell. And I don't know what happened. I just didn't catch the car in front of me quick enough, and I went oops. And I was thinking about the angels right before, but somebody put on my brakes and it wasn't me. And so they've done a lot of different things like that for me, and I've called in Archangel Michael over time to ask him to help me and protect me, and I always felt like he has. And I guess the point I want to make is, if you call them in, they'll come, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. They do as much as they can. I always say that, especially for angel like Raphael, who is the main archangel of healing.
Healing,
You
yeah.
can call him in to help you heal. It's not going to be like an instant we're healed, obviously, but he helps, and they help as much as they can. Just like Michael, I always like you said, and I teach that in an empath class I have, where the first shield that I always tell people about for shielding, you can ask Archangel Michael to come in for a shield, and he will protect. He will send whatever energy he can. And that's why I love the archangels so much, because they try to help us in everything that we do. But then again, also the second shield that I talk about is your own guardian angel, because they're your angel. Whereas Michael's sending it to like a million people, your own angel is right there with you. So ask the archangels, but also your guardian.
Ask your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's strong. It's super strong. Yeah.
Okay. So when we're born, are angels with us? And when we die, how is it decided which angel goes with who?
Well, it's an interesting thing, because the main guardian angel, like the one that I saw that day when I first started all of this, he's always with me. So the only time that he's not with me is when I do pass on. So if I am in spirit, they have other things that they can do. Like he does things with like the cosmos. He told me he black holes and stars and like, supernovas and all that, planets and stuff. Like they have other responsibilities. So if we're in spirit, we don't really need them in that moment.
I see.
I mean, especially if we pass to the light. If we haven't passed to the light, that's a different story. They're still with us until we do. But like when our souls were first created, that angel was bound to us.
Okay.
So my angel, who I call Pelin, which he told me to call him Peter way back in the day, but I later found out his full name. And so his little nickname that he gives me is Pelin. And so he's always been with me throughout my other lifetimes, ever since I started this whole journey of life, ever since human souls were created.
Okay.
And so that angel is always with us.
I love it.
And the other ones on the team, not always. So sometimes we need certain angels to be able to help us learn the lessons that we need to in this particular life.
In this particular lifetime. All right, we're going to talk more about this when we come back. You guys, we got to go to commercial break. You guys, I'm here today with the Angel Whisperer. He's really interesting. His name is Dr. Michael Terzi. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Dr. Michael Terzi. We're talking about angels. He's the Angel Whisperer. I love that you are. I think it's so great that you're doing this work. I wrote down all these questions for you. You're probably going to crack up at me. I'm really into angels, and I've always believed in angels, and I believe I have a lot of angels around me, and I always talk to them. So I just think what you're doing is really cool. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love it when I hear people that are excited about it and that want to learn about it. When I first started, I didn't think anyone would care, honestly.
Oh, wow.
It's sad because, like I said, I wasn't in the community as much as I guess I should have been. And then as I started it kind of blew up. So it's been really awesome. So thank you for being so interested.
No, I am. Well, I've always felt closely connected to angels for some reason. And I've learned over time that if you ask, they will help you. And that's just trial and error, that's just believing, having faith. And so now everybody asks if they have wings, and they don't really have wings, do they? They're just so light. That's what it is? Or what's the deal there?
One of the interesting things, there's two things that I thought were really cool when I first started this. I don't talk about the last one as much in every podcast, but because it might rock some boats. But the first one is that, wings. Wings, they do have, it's not feathery bird wings though. We have an energy about us that makes up our soul. People call it an aura. People just call it straight up energy sometimes.
Right.
And so we have this energy within us. Right. An angel obviously has an aura as well and has a strong energy about them. These wings are kind of like extensions of their energy. So while I see them having arms and hands and legs and feet, and they kind of look a little bit like us, obviously, the wings are like extra energy. It's kind of like they come out and they're huge. And so I think when the first people might start seeing angels, they saw them and they felt wings. And so they started illustrating it like that. The other thing that you may not be asking about, but I thought was kind of cool, was people have often been illustrating angels with halos.
Right, the aura.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that I talk about, is that angels actually have a literal third eye. That's right here. And it's not like these two eyes, like that have irises and pupils and all that stuff. Right. It's just this opening right here, and it's vertical. And a lot of their spiritual light energy emanates out of it. So I think when people, again, first saw it, it emanated out like a circle. And so then they illustrated it as a halo. That's why I think sometimes you see these circular lights around old paintings. And
you see it around Jesus, you see it around Buddha. And I always thought that was the aura that you were seeing.
Yeah, and that is an extension of that aura, I think. But with angels, it's constantly open. I think because when I see them, I see that eye, and it emanates this light, and it's an interesting thing. So that's where I think halos might have come from too, which is kind of cool.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes total sense. Wow, that's interesting. Now, are there cherubs?
Yeah, there are different kinds. Obviously, I mentioned the seraphim. There are cherubim. Cherubim are not exactly how they've been portrayed.
Yeah, what are they? Why are they? What's their situation? What do they do?
it's kind of interesting because it's almost the exact opposite. Cherubim are actually warrior angels.
Okay.
So they're the ones that do a lot of guarding, a lot of protecting, a lot of fighting. They not fighting, but going back in history with some of the things that I learned from them. Obviously, there was a time where there was a little bit of fighting amongst the angels. People have heard
Right.
about that great war that happened with the fallen and everything. And
Right.
yeah, so they are warrior angels. They're very strong. They appear to me very in charge, and they push forward their energy very much.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're also very big on motivation and inspiration. So
Okay.
they're very inspirational angels too. They
Oh,
have a way of speaking that people can kind of grasp and understand a little bit more.
okay.
So I've seen some warriors as cherubs, obviously. So that's what they do the most. A lot of people think of like Cupid as like a cherub,
Right.
which is interesting. But yeah, they're
Because they're
mostly
more warrior angels than that.
they're more
Well,
warrior.
what about dark angels? Because I never think about that, but I guess there are, because there is the dark and the light. Have you ever run across anything like that?
I have a few times, and one of the
Really?
things, yes, it's unfortunate. I mean, obviously, I think maybe I've run across it a few times because it is something that I'm called to do, and that's
Okay.
why I even have the group in the first place. Is because there are many different negative energies out there,
Right.
and when people talk about dark angels or demons,
Hmm.
my angels told me, and I've always referred to them as the fallen because
Okay.
they
Right.
are fallen angels,
Right.
and so they didn't fall into a place like hell; they fell here. And so I have encountered them a few times, and extremely negative and very, very, the gravity changes around the areas where they are, almost like you can feel it's heavier, you get more tired.
Right.
And it's interesting to be able to have to encounter something like that. And it, I don't recommend everyone go out and try to
Well, no, I
deal
mean,
with
but
them
when
like
you've
that, but
encountered
yeah,
it, you felt protected by your own guardian angel, I would imagine, or is that
I
is that
did.
correct? Or
Yes, and I did. I felt protected by my team. My wife was with me during these as well, and she felt protected. But one of
Mhm.
the really great things that I always tell people is that, and this is something that you have to work on, I guess, because a lot of people may not believe it, but no matter what energy comes to you, you can control that. When it comes
Okay.
into your energy field, it doesn't have to control you. You control it. So
Right.
even if there was a fallen before me and I didn't know my angels, if I was confident in my own energy and my own strength,
Mhm.
they're not stronger than me.
Right.
That's one of the things that I teach, is that
Okay.
the reason why some fallen have affected people is because they think, oh, they're stronger than I am because they're a demon.
Oh, they've
And
allowed
it's like,
it, is
no,
what you're saying.
yeah,
Right. Okay.
they're psyched out, they're intimidated.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot of people talk about them in ways that, oh, there's nothing you can do about it. But
Right.
I found that there are things that we can do to protect ourselves from it. And in fact, seeing fallen is actually very rare, or experiencing them. What we mostly see are what we call the followers.
Right.
That's what my angels have called them. And those are usually human spirits that have been manipulated after they passed on by these fallen angels. And they
Okay.
send them out to do their dirty work. So a lot of times when
Oh.
people think there might be a demon in the house, it's a really dark human soul. And those are the ones I love to work with, because we specialize in the negative stuff and the really heavy,
Mhm.
fallen negative things. And
Mhm.
so when people call us in, I work with those human souls. Like you mentioned earlier, I try to transmute the energy,
Right.
and I work with their own angels, because even though they're negative,
Right.
even though they're so low, their angel is still there. They just can't see them.
Right.
So I call in that spirit's angel, I talk with them, and I transmute that energy to help it rise up. That's why we call it rise and inspire,
Gotcha.
soul empower.
Okay, I was going to ask you about this and why you did this. I think it's really cool. Well, no, and I understand all the stuff. The audience, I don't know, some people are hip to this, some people are not. I just had Dave the Mystic on my show recently, and he and I become friends. And I just moved back into a house that I own here in New Mexico, and I couldn't sleep. And I just said, I called him and I said, that's not my forte. I could send people to the light. I'm a great psychic. I'm an empath. I said, but I don't do that work. Everybody has the work that they do, like what you're talking about. And he came in and pulled out a bunch of dark stuff that was in my house and protected it. And I don't know, he works a lot with mirrors around the house and white light. I bring in white light every day. That's why I'm bringing this up. I want to talk to you about that. Do you use mirrors? Do you use white light? Do you meditate? I bring it in every day to clear myself. I put it around my house, my car. What's your
Mm.
suggestion to people?
Oh, well, so I don't use mirrors. Like you mentioned earlier, I look at things from a spiritual but also practical approach.
Okay.
And one of the things that my angels told me was mirrors are mirrors. They're glass with silver behind them. They're a great tool for us to be able to use every day, but there
Okay.
isn't anything that people can really use. I mean, if people
So
are
it
using them,
doesn't
like Dave,
it doesn't
you know,
deflect is what.
not not really.
Okay.
Now, I mean,
Okay.
it's now if he's using that as a tool, he's putting his intention into that.
Gotcha.
So that could be something that he would use. I'm not
Gotcha.
called to that. So that's why
Okay.
I say if Dave's doing that, great. If that works for him, that's awesome.
So what do you
Um,
do?
so what I use is, like I mentioned before, I use my own connection with them. So I talk to them as a medium because most of the souls I encounter, 95% of them are human. We
Gotcha.
forget that
Right, right, right.
most of the ghosts that we see or spirits, they were people,
And
and
they're
they are people.
lost. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're lost, angry,
Yeah.
confused, sad, and I
Mhm.
empathize with them. I
Right.
talk with them,
Right.
and as I talk with them, I transmute that energy within me, and I help them raise their vibration so that maybe they can see their angel finally, and then they can move to
Mhm.
the light. As
Right.
far as other tools I will use essential oils a lot of the time.
Right.
My angels gave me 5 holy oils that they told me about, and I use about 2 or 3 of them quite a bit during clearings. Frankincense, hyssop, and helichrysum.
Okay.
These 3 I use quite a bit. There's also obviously myrrh, and then there's another one called cypress.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that I also use that's sparing. But these I use a lot for the actual blessing portion,
Okay.
for the cleansing portion after I clear the spirit. But
Yeah.
a lot of it is just me being able to talk with them. I don't
Okay.
use a lot of tools.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll have a crystal around with me just for some extra energy or something.
Yeah.
But and then obviously when I became a Reiki master, I learned the original branch of the Usui method. My angels filled in the blanks for me afterwards, and so that's why I started doing angel Reiki. And those symbols I can translate not just for healing, but also for protection, for cleansing of the home itself as well. So sometimes I'll use Reiki symbols to be able to help out. The angelic Reiki symbols that they gave me, obviously. So I do a
Right.
couple of little custom things that they taught me.
Right. Hey,
So,
now here in New Mexico, we use white sage. That's what the Native Americans have always taught, and I've always used white sage. What's your feeling on that?
sage is good. Sage, I think I always mispronounce it. Maybe Palo Santo, I think, is the other one that people like to burn. I think it's
Oh
Palo
yeah,
Santo.
yeah, something like
Um,
that. I don't burn
yeah,
that though.
yeah, those are
Okay.
those are good. I have a couple people on the team that after I'm done doing a cleansing, I'll be using the oils, and I'll say go ahead and go around with the sage or
With the
with the
sage.
Palo,
Yeah.
yeah, just to kind of cleanse. But one thing that I tell people, sorry, is that sage pushes them out for a little while
But they
if
come
the
back
spirit
in.
is there, but they come back in. Yeah, so that's why you need someone to help clear them out.
Yeah,
So
I've heard that
yeah.
before. I've heard that before. Hey, we got to go to commercial break. We got so much to talk about today. But you guys, I'm here today with Michael Terzi. He's the Angel Whisperer. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm so excited that Michael's here with us today. We're talking about angels, angel Reiki, which I think is really cool. Well, now I have to ask you what you feel about salt, because I'm an empath and I'm constantly taking a sea salt bath, and I'm constantly putting salt in my pockets and in front of my door and all of that good stuff. Well, what's your feeling on all that, Michael?
Okay, so salt. Salt is I have noticed is very good for cleansing crystals. I
Yes.
sometimes I'll put a crystal in a salt bath or something like that to help it. People have those Himalayan rock salt lamps and things that
Yes.
they'll put their crystals around. That's
Yes.
good. They're good for cleansing that I've found. As
Yeah.
far as for protection goes, my angels have told me, and something that salt is salt. It's a particular mineral, and so it's good. And I've so basically, long story short, cleansing and purification of crystals, and sometimes even for yourself, if
Right.
you put that intention into it.
Right.
You can put the intention and protection of salt, but the salt itself is not going to do a lot. And so I personally don't use salt for
Okay.
anything but maybe cleansing a crystal or two. Yeah.
Now, how do you protect yourself when you go out into the world?
There's a couple of things that I do. When I was first starting out, like I said, there were certain crystals and stones that I started off with before I was able to control my empathy and use it as strength.
Mm-hmm.
So for those, I mentioned that necklace earlier. It had black tourmaline, hematite, and agate. I call it a gate for some reason, but agate,
Yeah.
because it's spelled agate.
I know
But
it is.
yeah,
I know.
so it had those three around it, and so I used that for a while. And every now
Okay.
and then, I'll still have a black tourmaline with me occasionally.
Yeah, I do
So
too.
they're good, and they do different things for protection. I will shield myself if I'm going into the office to see patients, because spirits don't know that they can't come and see me when I'm working. So I will put up a shield before I leave the house if I know I'm going into the office, and then
Now, how do you put
it'll
up a
kind of.
shield? What do you do?
So as I mentioned earlier, there are three different types that my angels told me about that really helped me out. So the
Okay.
first one was asking Archangel Michael. He's the easiest one to start off with. So
Okay.
he will send you light. You might see a gold or a purple aura come around you. You might feel warm, and that buffers. The second
Okay.
one was asking my own guardian angels for protection. And so
Okay.
they'll give me a shield. If I say, hey, give me a shield, guys, I really need help. I'm going to be going into a tough spot right now. They
Okay.
will give me that shield.
Okay.
The third one that I use is making one myself. And when I do that, I basically just pull my own aura and I extend it out. No, I
Okay.
don't bubble.
You
I
don't
don't
bubble.
bubble, and
Okay.
I don't make a huge shield around me. My angels told me the closer to the body, the better. So I
Okay.
think of it like shrink wrap, like
Okay.
body armor. And
Okay.
between my fingers and my eyes, it goes in my ears. Like I visualize all of that and I put my strong intention of protection into it. And they also told me, and I tell everybody, not only do you have to make it close to yourself, but you have to do it prophylactically, meaning if you know you're going out, put the shield up before you leave the house.
Right.
Because if you're an empath and you start feeling things and then you try to shield, it'll protect you a little, but what you've already felt, you can't push away.
Right.
You then have to kind of deal with it and go through the steps that my angels gave me, which I try to teach as well.
Right.
And so, yeah, shielding works a lot better if you do it beforehand.
Okay.
So yeah,
Got
so
it.
that's basically what I use to protect myself. But normally I just do the third one. I don't really do the other two as much anymore because I'm decently confident in my own energy
In
now.
your own
It
energy. Yeah.
took a little while, but I got confident in it. And so it's been working out great so far. So
That's cool. Now, do they give you message? Have they given you any messages about the COVID-19? Do you ask?
yeah, I mean, and I've had some people ask me about it. One of the things that they told me, and obviously talking about it, I always do a little disclaimer and I say, what I say is not going to make everyone feel great.
Right.
You know, people have lost people to this disease, people are
Mhm.
sick, and there's nothing that I can say to perfectly comfort them.
Mhm.
And so it has been a tragedy. But one of the
Mhm.
things that they told me was there are three things that people were supposed to get out of this entire experience. And that first, we need to take better care of ourselves.
Right.
We need to take better care of each other, second, and we need to take better care of the environment and the planet. And so these three things are huge that we are supposed to kind of get out of it. It's supposed to be an awakening time.
I agree.
2020 itself, 2020, and the angels aren't huge into numerology, but they said the number 4 is a big transformational type of energy. It's a time. And so we're in that thing where 2020 is 4. This was a big transitional, transformational year. They told me 2021, it's going to start getting a lot better. They say, hopefully by the end of December, things are going to start to calm down a little bit. And then as we get into January, February, March, it's going to start to normalize a little bit more. And it's not going to be as crazy as it has been.
Right.
So, but they said that the COVID virus itself, it's going to end up becoming like a lot of the viruses that we've encountered, where it's not really going to just poof, disappear.
Right.
But it's going to be something that we're going to be able to manage and deal with a lot better than we have been this entire year.
Now, when you asked, had you asked the angels? Because I see, and I'll just throw this out there, I really feel like, we are in an awakening period. We are waking up. We are starting to use our abilities. People who are intuitive are starting to become more intuitive and to learn how to use their abilities. And I
Yes.
speak for myself. I know that. And I feel like we are getting to a point where people are waking up and we're all raising our consciousness. And I know it's hard to say time, but I would say within the next, 10 years, we'll be a different society with all this waking up. What do you think?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
They haven't given me exact years. I agree with that particular kind of time frame because
Right.
I think we really need a lot of extra help. Even within the next 4 or 5, things are going to really start to be changing for a lot of people. Even just as I've been doing things ever since around 2017ish, which is it's only been that long. 2016 I kind of came into it, but really started going in 2017. I've
Right.
seen more and more people open up to this, even people that I never thought would. Friends that I thought would shun me, people that I never expected to give a reading to. I have just as much guys as I do women asking for readings or Reiki now.
That's
and I'm
wonderful.
not sure if it's because I am a guy or not, but I never thought it would be like that, because when I first started, it was a lot of females, and that's amazing because obviously women are a little bit more intuitive than men usually, and men are too much about the macho stuff usually. So they're like, oh, this spiritual stuff, because I was like that. But I've been shocked to see that a lot of people have been changing. And so it's already started. Yeah, definitely.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear it. Now, if somebody wants a reading from you, what do they do? Tell me all your information so that the people can get in touch with you.
Sure, of course. Yeah, I do a few different things. Guardian angel readings. I'll do a past life reading, which is where I just speak with the angel about the lives that the person has had, which is pretty cool. Angel Reiki, all that stuff. Again, the website is the best way to get a hold of me, angelwhisperermichael.com. There's a contact form on there, and it will send an email to me. Those I can answer a lot faster. I also have Facebook at Angel Medium Michael, and an Instagram at Angel Medium Michael. You can contact me there as well if you prefer. The emails are a little bit faster usually, though. And then, of course, then there's riseparanormal.com for everything else.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you, you were talking about how you change negative energy into positive energy. I've talked to different people I talked to a lady a long time ago. She did some oracle cards, and she worked in a museum. She told me her story, and she was able to see somebody who looked really sad and take that energy and take it up through herself and take it up and transmute it. Is that what you're talking about here?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay,
I probably do it a little bit. Yeah, I probably do it a little differently than she does. But one of the things that I felt was that, especially starting off with negative energies that I started seeing, they need a little bit of that help. So I will literally take that anger or sadness, even during my angel Reiki sessions, if people have some blocks or some stagnant energy in them. Yeah, I take that in, and I say, okay. And I take it in and I visualize transmuting that into a light. And I take it as a healing light energy, and I visualize that coming out of my breath, coming out of my hands. I don't necessarily put it out this way. I put it out more physically like this. And then I let it come out to them. Obviously during Reiki, we're using our hands, not so much touching people all the time, because I do no touch Reiki, even when I'm in person. So I put a lot of that energy out through my hands, because we have chakras on our hands that a lot of people don't know about. And so I utilize that. And what it is that part of it, and I go through this in the empath class, I take that in and I say, okay, I feel your sadness. I get it. One of the things empaths forget to do is empathize. And I've been there before. Let me help you. Right. So I take that anger and sadness and I change it into, okay, time to go to work. I'm going to help you. Let me help. And so it's the support that I send back. People say love and light a lot. Right. And that's good to say, but do we really understand what that is? And the way I see it is that it's just support for those who need it, compassion. It's the empathy that we have for all of mankind. And if we can change that negativity in us into a positive light energy, then it's not just me that can do it.
It's everybody
able to do it too.
Right.
Yeah, I may be a little faster at it because I've been doing it for a while, but I think that a lot of people can do the same thing. It's just not something that they think is possible.
Right. Now, how did you learn to do it, or what compelled you to do it to begin with?
Really, it was my angels that told me that I could. The first thing was about the whole empath thing. Mm-hmm. The empath steps that they taught me so that I could feel more in control. Mm-hmm. The last step is transmuting. And some people will be stronger at it than others. Mm-hmm. But to be able to do it for yourself, everyone can. And it's about giving that light back out and about letting it go. And so then as I started doing it for myself, I met my first human spirit that needed help. And I did the same thing for him as I would do for the guy that was sitting across from me.
Gotcha.
And as I did that, I saw the energy change in him. This little boy that I talk about in my book that I'm writing. And it was a little boy who was really scared and he didn't know where he was and he was sad. And I talked to him and I changed the energy. And then I said, you have an angel. And the angel came down and he saw him and he gave him a big hug. And then they moved on finally. And I was like, wow, we can do this. And so that's what actually sparked the whole thing about starting a group that my wife thought of was, let's do this. Let's try to help people. And
I think that's awesome. What's your wife's name?
Greta.
Good. Okay. Well, I think what she's doing with you, and she's been a wonderful support. I can tell by just talking to you this last hour.
Oh, yeah. And
So
she
we got
has
to
her own
give.
amazing gifts too.
Awesome. Well, we got to give her some credit too for this.
Definitely.
Hey, our time is up, but I want to thank you so much for coming in. You guys, his website is angelwhisperermichael.com. I hope you'll come back and see me again.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Whenever you want me back on, I'm there. I'm
Oh,
ready.
you're awesome. You're
Hopefully
awesome.
my book will be done soon, and maybe we can even talk about that once I at least get the rough draft finished.
All right, there you go. Well, you guys, this is Nancy Yearout. Michael, thanks for coming on. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will see you next week. Everybody have a great week. Be thankful for what you got, and take care. Bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.